So good afternoon, everyone. We are really privileged to have Japanese ambassador to India, Ambassador Hiramatsu. Ambassador Hiramatsu, welcome to the Indian Express.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you very much.
So, Ambassador Hiramatsu has been in India for almost 2.5 years now. He came here in November 2015 and has sort of seen the relationship grow from where it was 2.5 years back, but it is where it is now. He has been a big picture policy person in the Japanese foreign ministry. He has been architect of the security strategy. He's also been one of the movers in the policies on across the world, how Japan views the entire world in Japanese foreign ministry. And he was in fact one of the architects of the Japanese Prime Minister's visit to North Korea back in the day. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for your time. The format, as we discussed, it's an on-the-record format, but if you wish to go off the record somewhere, do let us know. We'll respect that. But large part of the conversation will be on the record, and here we have the entire top editorial leadership team here, from different sections, from business to politics, chief editor, desk, everyone is here. So to kick off this conversation, we saw in the last few years growth in the relationship, especially because of the annual summit level contact between the two countries, which India has only with two countries, Japan and Russia. And due to that, we saw an exponential increase in activity. I was just going through the last joint statement, and it's a 60-para joint statement, probably one of the most elaborate ones that India has had. So that obviously reflects a lot of things. If you could tell us, from the time that you came to now, how do you see the relationship? How has it moved? And which are the broad areas, the top 3 priority areas?
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me in this prestigious platform. I'm very happy to have an opportunity to interact with you and others with regard to our relationship with India. As you mentioned, I think our relationship with India is the best maybe in the history. And when I arrived here 2015 December, just after that we had a visit of Prime Minister Abe to India. He visited Delhi and Varanasi. So from that time, I see a lot of events taking place and a lot of projects to be implemented by two countries. For example, high-speed railway project, civil nuclear project, some of the defense security-related projects, and I see more investment from Japan coming to India, and big project business sector has been taking place. So 2014, when your Prime Minister came to Japan, we decided to promote our relationship, special strategic and global partnership. But since I arrived here, this vision of a strategic partnership has been materialized in concrete project and actions. So I see a lot of difference between the atmosphere when I arrived 2.5 years ago and what I see now. In terms of people or business people coming from Japan to see business opportunities with Indian counterparts, and more government level interactions. I see more ministers and high-ranking officials visiting Japan, visiting India, and I saw many Indian high officials visiting Japan. For example, External Minister Swaraji visited Japan beginning of the end of March. So it was very successful and substantial discussion. So in terms of level of interaction, in terms of the concrete project taking place, in terms of the business interest from Japan, this is something quite different. As you say, exponentially increasing level of cooperation and friendship. So I'm very pleased to see. So I'd like to see more actions, real project taking place. I can see 2 or 3 areas which we have been putting a lot of emphasis and see more things to be done in the future. One is a security defense related area. We have participated in, for example, Malabar trilateral exercise, Japan, India, United States. Every year, the level of exercise, level of interoperability has been increasing quite rapidly. I'd like to see more cooperation in terms of transfer of technology equipment from Japan to India. We have been discussing that quite a lot with regard to the possibility of supporting the development of connectivity in Northeast region. And also we have been talking about the possibility of more cooperation with regard to the enhancement of connectivity in surrounding area of India. So this is, I think, important area we have to look into in the future. And now we are also already looking into that. And a third area is people-to-people exchange. I'd like to see more Indian people visiting Japan and more Indian experts and engineers, workers visiting Japan to get advanced technology. And I hope more Indian people learning Japanese language. That will facilitate, obviously, mutual understanding and also create a job opportunity for Indian workers in Japanese companies.
Let me first take you to the issue of Indo-Pacific strategy, and both countries are cooperating on Indo-Pacific region, and we also saw the quadrilateral initiative which took place in Manila last November, and in fact it was fast-tracked because your foreign minister proposed it from a public platform, and within 10 days the initiative, the meeting took place. Is there a sense that this quadrilateral its longevity is under question, because you see the Australians not being able to participate in Malabar, and we also see some bit of unpredictability with the US administration. How do you see the Indo-Pacific strategy unfolding?
I think our Indo-Pacific strategy, free and open Indo-Pacific strategy, is getting a lot of attraction in this region. I think India shares the views of the free and open Indo-Pacific region. There's a good synergy between our strategy and your Act East policy. And every time 2 prime ministers meet, they reconfirm the importance of this strategy itself, how to make it a concrete project, a concrete term. So the reason why we share this strategy is that we share the same value in terms of freedom of navigation, open flight, and open multilateral trading system and democracy. One of the key elements of this strategy is how to make sure that these basic values will be appreciated, will prevail in this very important part of the world. And there are other countries who can share these views. One is the United States, and Australia can share these values. We are hoping to have a more collaboration, for example, from ASEAN countries too. But this is very open kind of strategy. Every country is welcome if they agree on this strategy and they want to work together to have a better infrastructure in this region. So on that basis, we are explaining about the importance of this strategy. And I think Americans are already saying the almost same thing with regard to their approach to Indo-Pacific region. I think Indo-Pacific terminology is already well established in the, the world of diplomacy. So I think Americans are quite in the same page. But we have also very long-standing Japan, India, United States trilateral dialogue. And we have also Japan, United States, Australia trilateral dialogue. It is also very well established. And we have also Japan, India, Australia dialogue. So there are several we call mini-lateral meeting. So it is quite natural that we have this quadrilateral dialogue based on the existing trilateral dialogue. We hope, and I'm very much confident, that this quadrilateral dialogue will continue and will be well established.
You talked about the quadrilateral as well as the cooperation in trilateral and bilateral formats among these four countries. Is it fair to assume all these mechanisms and activities are aimed at sort of balancing China's assertive activities in the region?
We are not trying to counter a certain country. I think what we are aiming at is something very global and universal value that no country cannot contradict. So this mechanism is, as I said, is how to make sure that this basic value will prevail in this region. So every country is welcome.
You mentioned high speed as one of the key areas of cooperation. So I want to ask you, what does Japan and Japanese industry hope to gain through this project? And will Japan be interested in offering similar terms for future high-speed projects in India?
Thank you very much for your interest. And in view of the importance of India's railway development, we are very pleased to support this first-class and high-tech railway system to India. And our first high-speed rail was established in 1964. Sorry to tell you a little personal story, but I was very much excited. I was 8 years old at the time. We see the very bright future of Japan. Olympic year, in the same year. We saw the very bright future of Japan. We had a very world-renowned technology to have the highest, rapidest high-speed rail in Japan. So we hope that the same kind of dream will be achieved in this country too. So we decided to provide a very generous soft loan. This is not free, unfortunately. This is 0.1% loan, 50 years and 30 years grace period. This is something very rare for us to provide this kind of a very generous term to certain infrastructure project.
You must be aware that since you've been here for a couple of years now, there is there has been criticism from certain quarters that India, the system costs around more than 100,000 crore rupees for 500 kilometers of connectivity. So it's too expensive a project. So being a funding agency, how do you view that criticism vis-a-vis India?
I think this high-speed rail can provide a lot of benefit to the people in India. Very stable and safe, punctual transportation system, and that will create a lot of job opportunity or new business opportunities in the region. So I think it's very beneficial to the local people, but also to bring Japanese technology in the rail sector. So I think this money will be well spent for this project.
Originally, as per assessment by the Japanese team and engineers, the deadline for commissioning this project was 2023. So I'm sure you're aware that this government wants it completed a year in advance, in 2022. So do you think it is, it is possible to advance the deadline of such a large infrastructure project by 1 year, and how do you view the progress so far?
Yeah, as you said, the timeline is it will be completed by 2023, and we are working on that assumption. But I know that there's a request from government of India to advance this timeline to sometime in 2022. Yeah. But we fully understand that strong requests are coming from your side. So we are discussing what we can do to address to your request. Not completely, but to some extent. Maybe we can do something, but we haven't decided yet what we can do by 2022, what we can do by 2023. But important things are, this is very highly complicated, sophisticated system, and safety matters most. So we have to make sure that this Shinkansen system will be operational in a very verified and manner, to make sure that this world-famous safety record of Shinkansen will be applied in this Shinkansen too.
Growing up, we had a brush with Japanese technology in terms of Walkman. Sony Walkman this is how we came in direct touch with something Japanese. Before that, it was Japanese watches. So watches are now still remain at the same stagnant level, but the entire industry changed, and the consumer electronics came with iPod, and then everything changed. So if you look at that break point, Japan was a technology leader. It still remains, but in a legacy technology, in the modern technology, we have not seen a new Japanese Sony or not coming up. How do you see what has happened to Japan? Why it's not? We are not hearing any big new innovation coming out from Japan in latest years. You are from there, so we just want to understand, how do you see this, that a whole new industry has come up, consumer electronics and internet and networking technology. Japan isn't the technology leader that we came to know when growing up. So how do you see this transformation of the industry?
Well, a little bit difficult question to answer, but I think there are more competition around the world. New players are coming in the technology field. So especially information technology, IoT, these are very innovative, disruptive kind of technology. I think some countries, some scientists or engineers have some advantage. So Japanese technology is, we are proud of manufacturing, called monozukuri, the Japanese word. How to make a different kind of technology and assemble it to produce something very high-tech products. So I think Sony's products and other Japanese cars are product of this long tradition of manufacturing. So I think it's very important That's why we are trying to transfer our traditional manufacturing to India, and this is an important sector. But with regard to very, very innovative kind of things, of course we have a very famous and important scientists who have received a Nobel Prize and in science technology and biology and these kind of physics. This is basic science. With regard to applied science, maybe we should have done more. So the combination of advanced applied technology and our traditional monozukuri manufacturing culture, I think it will create great things. So maybe we are a little bit lagging behind with this new trend of IoT and information technology field, but we are putting a lot of emphasis again with regard to how to have a more innovative ideas in startup and IoT business. And I'm confident that with our very focused efforts to have a more advanced technology in Japan, together with the manufacturing sector, I'm sure that Japan is now, I think, coming back, and with a special emphasis to IoT and AI. As you may know, Japan has been putting a lot of emphasis on AI business, and Japan has been and will also continue to be one of the leaders of AI business. So a combination of this high tech and manufacturing, I think Japanese companies will continue to be very competitive.
So it's a bit linked to this. We know that from the latest data that the population is falling below the replacement rate. It has really fallen in the last few years, and also there is almost no immigration. So how do you see this playing in the future over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yes, our population has started to decline, and we are having a new policy how to have a more, babies. That is one part of our policy, but we have to. It takes some time to have a more population coming back. So we have to make sure that in this current situation of a declining population, how to maintain or even improve our growth level and our level of living. That is a huge challenge. I think no country has experienced this kind of things before. So we are in a sense front runner. So we have to make sure that, I think other countries, India maybe not, distant future maybe, but Germany or South Korea or China, even China, will face this situation sometime soon. So we have to make sure that our level of living and growth will be maintained or improved. For that, couple ways we are thinking about. One is how to make use of human resources better. For example, even elderly people, they are experienced. They have gone through a very rapid Japanese industrial growth. They have technologies. So we hope that even after retirement or even extending the year of retirement, they can be more involved in our industry or in our growth. So this is one thing. Second thing is more women empowerment. Japan is putting a lot of emphasis how to have more women in the working place, and even after marriage, after having babies, they continue to stay in the working place, or after a couple of years they can come back to the working place. So we are putting a lot of incentives or providing better child care service. In that way, we can have a more women's workforce in coming years. This might not be enough. As you mentioned, immigration has been a big issue for many years. I have to say there's no conclusion at this moment, but it's obvious that we need more workers coming to Japan, especially in the manufacturing sector or service sector. We have already started some system policy to invite more foreign workers by providing internship or training. We have a system called TITP, Technology Internship Training Program.
So are you open to like a skilled professionals program from say countries like India? Is that something that could work? Something like an H-1B visa, similar program?
First thing is with regard to TITP, Technology Internship Training Program. I think quite recently we have started to receive Indian engineers to Japan. I think I haven't checked, but 15 Indian workers will go to Japan to have this kind of training, 3 years, maybe extended to 5 years. This is a very small number still, but the overall policy with regard to having more high-skilled labor, we have started a new scheme to give the permanent residency permit if you stay 3 years and satisfying some criteria and as a highly skilled labor. You will have this, maybe in other countries called a green card for permanent residency if you stay 3 years. And this is something I think quite a short period of time to have a green card. And our target is to have this permanent residency for skilled labor. Our target is 20,000 people by 2022, if I remember correctly. So this is something new. I hope there are so many Indian talented engineers, skilled engineers. If you want to have a job, stay in Japan, they are quite welcome.
Master, one of the initial decisions by the two governments early in the tenure of the NDA government, sometime in October 2014, was to set up a Japan Plus desk to facilitate investment flows from Japan. This was to also have representatives from METI. How has this panned out, and has it made a tangible difference in the flow of funds from Japan to India?
Yes, that's a very important initiative. 2014, Japanese Prime Minister Abe announced that we will have a 3.5 trillion Japanese yen investment and financial flow to India in 5 years, which is the middle of these 5 years still. But
this will be both public and private.
Yes, public-private financing. So I give you some example. Last year, 2017, and we had an investment from Japan to India amounting to 4.7 billion US dollars.
Taking you away from the economy, technology, back to the geopolitics. There are two elephants in every diplomat's room. One is US, another is China. And Japan is between both of them. So I just want to know from your side, how do you see a retreating United States and a assertive and expansive China from horse's mouth, from you? Because we keep reading about it, but I mean, we'll be informed much better if you just explain how do you see these two powers changing their character.
I have been in the diplomatic world for many years. So of course I have been dealing with China and the United States for many years. So this is something, a very important moment that of course China is getting bigger and having more influence in this region. And the United States are still very prime power in the world. From Japanese point of view, our alliance relationship with United States still fundamental for our security in the region. So we already think that Japan-US alliance relationship is cornerstone for maintaining peace and stability in Asia-Pacific region. And at the same time, we'd like to have a better relationship with China. China is getting more influence in terms of military, in terms of business and economy. So we are having a lot of business relationship. Our trade and investment relationship with China is the biggest in our relationship. So we have to make sure that we have to have a stable relationship with China. So this is a challenge we are facing. But fortunately, our relationship with China is now improving. And we have some difficult years before. But this year, we had a visit of Foreign Minister Wang Yi in April. This is, I think, after 5 years, and 8 years, I think.
2012.
I don't know, maybe. I have to check. But at the same time, we had a trilateral meeting of 3 leaders from China, South Korea, and Japan. It took place, I think, after 2.5 years absence. And PM China's visitors, I think, after almost 8 years. So things has been improving. And China needs, I think, stable conditions in their neighbors. I think something similar is happening with India too. So we have to make sure that we can manage and the stable relationship with China. But at the same time, for us, the most important security relationship is with the United States. But at the same time, as I said, in this rather volatile world and very rapidly changing world, we need a real friend and a trusted friend. That is India for us. I hope it's the same from India too. So this is something certain for us. We have no controversy with regard to certain issues. We have a shared kind of views with regard to our relationship in this region.
I mean, we in India can understand, but like our relationship with our neighbors, there's a baggage of history. And we are struggling still to get rid of the baggage of the history to just move on. What is holding China and Japan to get rid of the historical baggage and move on in the way Japan, US are moving ahead?
Of course, as like other countries, we have a long history, and history has not been every time kind. So we have to always understand the feeling of other countries. We have a close relationship. So history can play an important role, but we really want to have a forward-looking relationship with countries like China.
So how does Japan assess China's OBOR project?
We hope that this project will be open and rule-based and respecting global standard and respecting very responsible debt practice and the environment. So if this project will be implemented under this philosophy. And I understand that countries like India has concerns about that. We understand really that some countries have this kind of concerns on that.
And that, since we are in China, I would like to ask you, during the Doklam standoff, you as Japanese ambassador was the only ambassador who came out and publicly supported the Indian stand that was happening, that was playing out in those 2.5 months. Now, looking back, what prompted you to take that step as the Japanese envoy, and was that a wise decision by you?
Well, what I said was a long-standing principled position of Japan, and I said that the issues related to territorial issues should be resolved based on the international law. And that is what I said. So I don't think I said something wrong. I don't think something stepping outside our long-standing position on these kind of issues. So.
Ambassador, Japanese manufacturers, manufacturing companies, be it automobile, consumer durables, heavy engineering, I mean, they have always been at the forefront of any major economic change that India saw. I mean, when automobile sector was coming in, Japanese companies were always there. Then we saw consumer durables, everything. But India is at the cusp of retail boom. We are already witnessing that. But we don't, besides SoftBank making some money, I mean, reportedly making billions of dollars out of the Flipkart deal, we don't see big retailers from Japan coming to India and profiting out of the consumerism that is there in India. How do you see? I mean, because in every other sphere they were there and they made the most of the opportunity available.
You said the retail sector? Retail sector.
Yes, our investment has been concentrated in manufacturing sector, especially automobile and automobile parts sector. But I think the sphere area of investment from Japan to India has been expanded. It's been expanding, I think, which include areas like service and agribusiness and the medical sector, among others. I'm trying to encourage more Japanese retail sectors coming to India.
Uniqlo is opening.
Yes, and we have Muji, MUJI. This is a renowned Japanese retail sector company providing sophisticated but simple kind of products like stationery and furniture and clothes. They have, I think, already one shop in Noida, one shop in Saket, and one in Mumbai, one in Bengaluru. So they are, I think, doing very good job. And as he said, we are expecting to have a Uniqlo, world famous textile company, a clothes company, garment company, will come to India sometime.
Ambassador, what is the feedback that you've got, or what you're getting from Japanese companies involved in India who are working here and who are investing here? What needs to improve? What are the challenges they face?
I think in this current administration by Prime Minister Modi, we appreciate that many reform measures have been taken to provide a better investment atmosphere in this country. For example, GST and some other liquidation, bankruptcy law, among other things, and infrastructure is getting better. So compared with the situation a couple of years ago, definitely the investment condition has improved. But nevertheless, of course, there are some issues we see more improvement, like infrastructure development, some roads and electricity and water supply. We have some, concerns, and we hope the infrastructure is better in the future. And I think government level regulations and procedure, as I said, is getting better. But still, some companies have some difficulties in speeding up process of some kind of regulatory issues and tax issues. So I keep reminding high officials of government to expedite the procedure and to become more transparent with regard to the application of some regulations.
Now, in the last couple of years, Westinghouse has filed for bankruptcy, and there was a liability issue that was also resolved. What is the status of the nuclear cooperation with regard to with Japan?
The agreement between Japan and India with regard to civil nuclear cooperation was struck, I think 2015, when our Prime Minister came to India. And the signing of the document took place 2016, when your Prime Minister came to Japan. I myself signed the document. And this agreement became effective. I think it was last year, sometime in July, if I remember correctly. So from that time, we started discussion about possible cooperation in civil nuclear sector. We had one working group meeting. I don't remember when, but a couple months ago, with the participation of private sector. We are keen to have something concrete with regard to civil nuclear cooperation, but at this moment I cannot tell you anything very concrete.
Japan has been a victim of terror attacks in the last few years. An unfortunate incidents in Holy Bakery, Artisan Cafe in Dhaka, and ISIS also. Now, is there a view on national view on against terrorism that has evolved after these two incidents?
Those are very unfortunate incidents. It means that Japan is not immune to any kind of terrorist attack. So we are mindful that we have to get more information. We have to collaborate with countries like India, to make sure that Japanese citizens will not be affected by any terrorist attack. Especially we will have Olympic and Paralympic Games 2020. So many people will come to visit Japan. So we have to be even more careful about possibility of any kind of terrorism activities.
That brings us to this wonderful conversation we had with the Japanese ambassador. Thank you, Ambassador Hiramatsu.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For your time and patience and educating us on different facets of the relationship and Japan, how Japan views different issues. Thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.